The Subway Series is over. It ended in a tie, which is no surprise because both teams are pretty awful, and Luka has deserted us once again. So that's very common
Isn't it
here.
the second time in a week?
Yeah,
Not exactly.
There he is. He had to go make an adjustment real quick.
Yeah, they make whatever adjustment. But welcome back, everybody, to the Big Blue in the Bronx YouTube channel. We have a special guest for today, and of course, that is the Pete Simonetti of NYY News TV, also known as the Boss.
Wow, the Pete Simonetti. I like
the
that.
Pete Simonetti, yes. So, got a lot of stuff to talk about, some negatives, some positives regarding both teams. Because obviously that wasn't the greatest Subway Series of all time. That was actually one of the worst. So I'm going to start out with Pete for first thoughts, then go to Professor Angry John, which you kind of should like change the headline because the Mets did not lose, and then Luker.
Good old Luker. Yeah, man. So they end up getting the split 1-1. The Yankees starting rotation, Garrett Cole pitched good yesterday, but Luis Severino's an absolute mess. I think Mets fans are probably getting sick and tired of Scherzer at this point now. Verlander comes into the game with almost a 5 ERA, and of course he looks pretty vintage against the Yankees, but that's pretty common when Verlander faces the Yankees. Yankees offense, game one, they look pretty good. IKF, continues to kind of impress this year a little more in a different role that he's in. Straight up steal of home plate. You could see Buck Showalter's his face was fuming. He was turning red. I mean, his neck was red. He was hot because that just can't happen. That's your team falling asleep on the field. And it was a gutsy and a ballsy move by IKF. But I tell you what, I was calling the game yesterday with Bad Dog, and I'm sitting there looking at the Mets lineup and their team. And I'm like, how is this team this bad? Like, this team is way worse than they should be, in my opinion. Brandon Nimmo is an awesome ball player. Again, John, you know a lot more about the Mets than I do, but on the outside looking in, I think Brandon Nimmo's phenomenal. I think the mistake last night was taking Abreu out that game and not letting him face Marte. You simply just walk Nimmo. Let him face Marte. Whatever happens, there happens. And if Marte were to get on, then go to Ramirez against a guy like McNeil, who has great back control, but he could roll over on one. Maybe you get a little double play there. I don't think he's as fast as Nimmo is, but you got an opportunity there. It's just the Yankees again, giving things away. They have no outfielders, the Yankees. None at all. I saw some people saying that Bowers gave up on the ball yesterday. I wouldn't say he gave up on it. He's just not an outfielder. He's not a good defensive outfielder. Should that ball have been caught? I think Aaron Judge makes that catch. I think a pretty average to slightly above average right fielder probably makes that ball. And on top of that, if you look at it again and watch where he started, why is he 50 feet behind Glaber or whoever was at second base at the time? He's playing so in. I understand a base hit you don't want to happen because it could be the game, but I'm just like, to me, that's a tough call on part of the Yankees, and I feel like they should have swept the series.
So real quickly before I go to Angry John, shouts to Knicks Nation, Jetsos Mess, everyone else in the chat. Booyah. Let's get to 10 likes, people. Of course, if
Smacky
you haven't already, smacky the likey, as Pete would say. If you guys haven't already, I'll put the link in for NYY News TV shortly, which all of you should be subscribed to. But Professor Angry John, who I had the privilege with game one to call, and two at my house yesterday, and when that steal of home happened, he went out on the porch for the next 2 innings.
I
the game.
I needed to. I rewatched the highlights, but I needed to take a break. I couldn't take it.
But your first thoughts, John?
What's going on, everyone? What's going on? Thanks for joining us on a Thursday afternoon. In terms of the Mets side of things, you want to look at the starting pitching. Max Scherzer just was awful in game one. I mean, he had a 5-1 lead. His slider was pretty bad. You see the homers he gave up to Stanton and LeMahieu, both hangers right over the middle of the plates, pretty much like the same exact spot, location, and just the same exact result. So, and he's been getting hit hard a couple times. You see that series against the Braves where I'm pretty sure he had the lead in that one too, but Scherzer just continues to get hit hard. He's not the same pitcher he once was. The age is starting to show. And Verlander, I think that was one of the better starts I've seen The only issue I still have is he pitches too high up in the zone sometimes, and I think he got away with a lot of curveballs that the Yankees just didn't capitalize on. So, but nevertheless, a good outing from him. In terms of the offense, they start out good in game one, but again, that terrible 8th inning with bases loaded, because you all know my feelings on Francisco Lindor by now, because he is just so overrated and such a not like a fake superstar, if you want to call him that.
Mets fans don't like him, dude. Do they? Is there like a group of Mets fans that still support this guy at this point?
I've seen Mets fans like in comment sections, or whether it's Twitter, Instagram, whatever. I've seen them say, you know what, like he'll get out of this, and I'm like, I'm waiting. Like I'm waiting. I mean, believe me, I don't want to rip on the guy, but if you're doing some of the stuff you do, I mean, his strikeout percentage is way up. Okay, he cannot hit breaking balls. I mean, it's just awful. And facing right-handed pitchers is like his kryptonite, because his batting average is like 30 points higher or 40 points higher on the right side. I got to relook at the stats again, but that was like I checked 2 or 3 days ago. But nevertheless, him and Marte strike out in that game one. And then yesterday, Alex said, I had to take a break after the steal from home because they looked asleep, and I was like, you got to be kidding me, man. Like, you cannot allow that to happen. I mean, IKF is basically 50 feet down the line before anyone realized he started taking off, and that was just a horrible mental error. But they did find a way to come back. Nimmo, although he made a base running mistake earlier in the game, he did manage to hit the go-ahead run in the 10th inning. I think it's funny, Pete, you mentioned him. He had a few mistakes in the game, and, Nimmo is an excellent center fielder, but he had the drop in game one, and he had that base running blunder. That's usually not him, but he just had kind of a rough series, but he did make up for it with the bat at least. Some other and then you want to get to the bullpen. They didn't do the worst job. I mean, they've had way bigger slip-ups this year. So but then again, that's also Billy Epler's fault, because we basically have a AA bullpen at this point, and guys just doing mop-up duty. So I'll send over my first thoughts to Luca.
Real quickly before Luca goes, I just want to say this is, if you haven't seen the short already, this is John's impression of Francisco Lindor and every other Mets
This was
hitter.
live on
Francisco Lindor in the box, right? Strike one. Don't worry, I got it, Buck. Here's strike two. Let me change sides. I might be better on the right side. Strike three. Oh, that's okay. I get my $340 million. Marte, you're up now. Ooh. Come on. 2, 3. Oh, great try. Tommy Pham. 1, 2.
That's courtesy of Professor Angry John. But by the way, I want to shout out JC, Armand, Anthony Garcia, Frankie is here too. TC Steels. I think I called out everybody, but let's push to 15 likes now. Luca, your first thoughts.
Yeah, my first thoughts for the Yankees, I'm going to start with starting pitching. 2 completely different performances. Severino just blew up in the first game, giving us about 6 runs up. Garrett Cole throwing outside of a blunder in the outfield that I thought Bauer should have caught, possibly a masterpiece. But I thought Cole did really well yesterday. The Yankees' offense also polar opposites from day 1 and day 2. The Yankees having a big 5-run 4th inning in game 1 obviously led them to victory. Game 2, it's been a shutout. It was a pitching duel yesterday with Garrett Cole and Justin Verlander. The Yankees also got to capitalize on some mistakes in game 2, but I also feel inside that the Yankees should have just swept both games because of this mismanagement. Yesterday was basically like both teams giving each other the win. Like, no, you can have the win. No, you can have the win. And that's what I felt with these 2 really kind of mediocre teams at best, honestly. I know the Yankees are in the wild card, obviously, and the Mets are 4th in the NL East, but I ultimately felt that the Yankees should have swept this one, but they did not take advantage, and I think it's going to come back to hurt them when it comes to the bullpen mismanagement and the lack of situational hitting.
Yeah, I agree. So we're going to go into a little bit of the pitching first, and you know what? Let's start out with the negative. We'll start out with game 1, right? Who had the worst outing in your opinion? And I'll start with Pete on this one. Max Scherzer or Luis Severino?
Oh man. Well, Scherzer gave it back. So as the veteran that he is and the money he's getting paid, I got to go with Max. And trust me, I'm not a fan of Sevy right now, but I would have to go with Max because he did give that lead back. He handed it right back to the Yankees, so I got to go with Max.
Okay, Angry John.
I'm in agreement here with Pete with Scherzer, but also just remember, I know I'm not trying to make the excuses for Severino because he is coming back from injury, so maybe he just hasn't found his footing yet. But some things that I remember we noticed on the when we were calling the game Tuesday, his fastball was all over the place, and he could just not locate it correctly. And whenever the Mets hitters that night were patient enough, then they would attack, but. For Scherzer to just blow that lead and just show no effort or fight back was just horrible in my opinion.
Real quickly before we go out there and get to Luca, or I should say Luker. JC, member for a month. The part of the transparent one says, "Hey, that was Glaber batting," meaning John's impression. Also, how you doing? We're doing pretty good. Shouts to Jacob in the chat too. Shouts to Jacob. How you doing? Luca, your thoughts? Is it Scherzer or is it Severino that had the worst outing?
I got to go with Scherzer because, as Pete said, he gave the lead right back. He had a 5-1 lead. The Yankees were basically asleep in the batter's box, but he just kept giving it back. I think it all started with the DJ LeMahieu home run, which upstarted things back for the Yankees.
And let's see. I think I'm trying to remember when the Glaber Torres error was. Was that game 1?
Yes,
that was game 1.
Yes, game 1.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go around the table for that one. Pete, I know obviously we think pretty similarly about Glaber Torres, but the Yankees don't necessarily have any good second baseman other than Peraza, who's down in AAA right now. What are your thoughts on that whole Glaber error and just like the whole Glaber Torres process, if you will?
Yeah. It's who he is. I mean, at the end of the day, there's no hiding that anymore. This is who Glaber Torres is. You're going to have times where I talked about it a little today in a video. There's good and then there's the bad that comes with Glaber. And you got to choose if you want that on your club. But the New York Yankees with Aaron Boone being that manager, I don't think they could afford it. It's very hard having Glaber Torres on their team. The flat-footed era, Billy McKinney trying to be a good teammate, going I got to make a better throw. No. The second baseman can move. He's allowed to move around. And he just lets the ball go. And again, this is something that we see often. It's not like we're here picking and choosing. That Glaber every now and then this is pretty often. You could probably watch weekly and say, yeah, those 2 plays that he probably could have made, or just the lackadaisical plays that he just gives up on and his mind is elsewhere. And the Yankees do it a lot. It's a lot of sloppy play. We see it. I call them the sloppy Yankees. We've seen it so many times. They always seem to make an appearance. But Glaber Torres on the good. He's going to hit for power at the second base position. He's going to pop 20-plus homers for you more than likely. He's going to hit above 250 or right around 250. That is who he is. That is exactly who Glaber Torres is. So you know what you're getting. Is there a way that the Yankees figure out to improve upon that this year? I don't think so. I think Glaber should stay there for the year and they reevaluate that in the offseason. But I think they got a much bigger problem at third base, and we'll probably eventually get to that.
Yeah, definitely. Shouts to JC for the super chat. $2. What is up, my man? Thank you. IKF stole 3 times. LOL. Also loved your video, P. Yeah, if you haven't already, please check that out. He always makes the good content. And also shouts to Julietta in the chat. John, your outsider thoughts on Glaber Torres and that error from Tuesday night.
Well, it's funny because I look at a guy in Glaber, and I remember him coming up, and you guys thought originally he was going to be a future shortstop when he had his first rookie season, his second season, and you guys thought that this is what you were getting in that deal for Aroldis Chapman. But the problem was always his defense. You knew he was just more of an offensive player, which is fine. I mean, not everyone is, equipped. So, again, he made a ton of errors at short. Now you move him over to second. He's kind of making those same errors. I thought that error on Tuesday night was a pretty bad one. I think he had a few bad throws in that game 1, which Rizzo kind of bailed him out a little because he's actually an excellent defender at first. But nevertheless, here's my thing with Gleyber. If you have Peraza in your system, the Yankees need to make a decision on whether, what kind of team they are, because they're obviously in a wild card position right now. But they have to make a decision for their future saying, all right, do we want to make sure, we sacrifice a little if we get rid of Torres and bring Peraza up? Or are we just going to, be okay with just making the playoffs again? And until they figure out that answer, you'll know your answer with Gleyber Torres. Now, personally, I think since you already have a Volpe up and you're not going to send him back down, personally, I think you should have Peraza up too, just to see what they can do together. And, Gleyber, he's never going to be that, all, superstar kind of player, but he's a good player. Like Pete said, he's going to give you 20 to 25 homers, hit around 260, and he's valuable. He's a decent ball player. He's nothing wrong to him. But if you do want to trade him, maybe you get some starting pitching help. Maybe you go find a third baseman. Maybe you get some help at catcher. But again, a lot of different options you can go there.
Yeah, so I'm going to get some comments real quick. Frankie says, how much more do we need to see of Gleyber? I agree with you there, Frankie. Next Nation says, Peraza should be up over Donaldson, not Gleybass. Absolutely agree. Gleyber only cares about video games and getting sponsorships. I think he has his own, underwear company or something like that?
Yes.
That's a joke. Gleyber plays the field like he doesn't want to be out there. Yeah, he just doesn't have the drive, and there's no one in the locker room or, let alone management that's going to tell him. TC Steele says the problem is the Yankees just accept the bad play because they're competitive and professional at-bats. Shut the fuck up. Yeah, pretty true. Pretty true, TC. I mean,
I also like Anthony Garcia's comment. Gleyber should just be an Instagram model. That's a good one.
You know what? I think he'll get less criticism on there. He'll get less criticism.
Yeah, definitely.
Great to get a sponsorship for something that you will never be seen wearing. I mean, sure. So, let's see. Julietta says, so looking at it, Big G smacked a jack job and managed not to land on the disabled list. That's good, right? Yeah, I guess so for right now. But Luca, your thoughts on the whole, actually, and there's also a trade proposal, Gleybass for Linda.
you want his contract? Sure, take it.
Oof. Yeah, I would.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Go ahead.
No,
take the contract.
Nope. Luca, your thoughts on the whole Gleyber Torres thing?
It's interesting because, again, we've all said on here, we know what Gleyber Torres is. He has his mental errors, but he gives you good pop. Obviously, his main position is second base, and we need to keep him there. But the problem I have is, obviously, I think Knicks Nation just brought up Josh Donaldson. Donaldson obviously needs to be DFA'd. We know that he should be off this team. And I think Peraza should be the replacement. But how do you navigate the infield at the end of the day? Anthony Volpe, should I say, has been average fielding-wise at shortstop, and I think Peraza has the better arm and better glove. But that misplaces Gleyber Torres as well, or Anthony Volpe, because are you going to have Anthony Volpe at third base, or are you going to have him at second base? Because I believe Volpe's arm is less stronger than Peraza, and I think his arm is a little weaker, so I think second base is just the easy route. But again, that places you, where does Gleyber Torres fit in? He's barely played any third base. So at the end of the day, yes, we know what Gleyber is, but it just creates a problem if you get rid of Donaldson. I'm not saying the Yankees shouldn't get rid of Donaldson, but with Gleyber Torres on the roster, basically knowing only to play one position, and Peraza having to play shortstop, or should be playing shortstop, and Volpe kind of being average shortstop, it's interesting to see what the Yankees can make of this.
Yeah, I mean, if I could jump in, I think it's much more simple than that. To be honest, is call up Peraza and Peraza your third baseman. I mean, it's really that simple. The guy has an absolute cannon. He got a rocket. He's played it. They actually got him listed now as a third baseman in minor league baseball's profile. So I don't know if that's them also trying to send a message to the Yankees, like, hey, look, get him up there. He's a third baseman. By the way, too, happy birthday, Oswald Peraza. Today's his birthday. But you also got DJ LeMahieu, who we know is not great with the bat, but he could play a very good third base. He could play a first base. He could play second base. They also got IKF, who was originally a Gold Glove third baseman. So they got enough guys there that can manage third base, and they can move guys around that can manage second or short if they need to. But in my opinion, you call Peraza up and you go, look, you're getting the same ticket as and this is the problem with the Yankees is they're not gutsy enough. They want to play it so safe when in reality, there's no reason to play it safe anymore. You've had the same results year after year after year. You know what the issues are. You keep telling us that these guys are part of the future. Well, let them be part of the future. Call them up, let them roll with it. You look at Josh Donaldson. I broke him down a lot today on the video I made earlier. I mean, he is terrible. If anybody thinks Josh Donaldson all of a sudden is going to have 100 at-bats and hit 260, 26 for 100, it's not going to happen. The guy cannot hit an off-speed pitch. His biggest struggle is right now he's up there and he's batting. I should get Angry John to go ahead and do this at-bat. He's just up there looking and he's waiting. And what he's saying in his head is fastball. And he's ready to unload. And if he gets it, he might hit it. But there's nothing else Josh Donaldson could do besides play a decent third base. He is pointless for a team that needs offense desperately. The Yankees and Hal Steinbrenner, who has a big mouth. He has a big mouth. He should just step to the plate and go, just like we did with Hicks. We're going to give this kid a shot. Call Peraza up. Give him the same thing you gave Volpe. You're playing third base. You're going to get your chance. Let's see what you can do. And let him ride and see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. Just going to go through some comments before we get to the next thing. Frankie says, can't wait for Donaldson to get released, then get picked up and hit 20 home runs. Kind of the Aaron Hicks effect, if you will. Making Peraza a third baseman would be perfect for DJ. Can occasionally play third, second, or first on the starter's rest days. Easy concept. Luca, you had something to say.
So I saw this on Twitter. I don't know if I saw a Carlos Rodon update, but I know that the Somerset Patriots just posted him in a Yankee spring training jersey in Somerset. So is he going to be starting a rehab assignment? I think that's what the Yankees said.
Yeah, he's supposed to be.
Have they announced it?
I think today he's doing live BP today, and if this goes good, he'll be making his rehabilitation assignments.
That's at least what Booney said, Mr. Umbrella. This Peraza issue wouldn't be a thing if they traded for Castillo last year. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna come out and say it. I think I said it on Twinville last year. I may have reiterated a few times. I would have traded Volpe for Castillo. And then you have Peraza filling at shortstop. And then this is not me being hindsight. I literally said it last year. It's documented.
Yeah.
Do you think Aaron Judge will win a World Series for the Yankees anytime? If they get Boone and Cashman out, yes.
Not with this jam.
not with this cast of characters. Glaber for Spanky. I think that is not a great trade.
Nope.
I think Pete would agree.
I'm not putting Glaber on my shelf. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that's ideal.
Yeah, not gonna happen.
But moving to the next one before we get into some of the bullpen management, who do you think had the better outing, Justin Verlander or Garrett Cole? I'll start with Pete.
Oh, I think Verlander had more to lose. So I think he was good. I think the Mets could leave that saying, hopefully he builds on this. For the Yankees, I expected Cole to have a good performance. That's the way I would go about it. I expect Cole's had a good year. He's had a couple of rough outings in a row, no doubt about it. But I'd give the nod to Verlander just because, again, it's kind of the same thing with Scherzer, right? He has the big contract, much larger contract. It hasn't been good for the Mets at all. And I think this is something Mets fans could look at and go, if he's more of that guy, we got a chance of him on the mound. So I'm going to give him the nod on this one.
Angry John?
So I actually have the stat line for Verlander last night, and he went 6 innings, 1 run, 3 hits, 6 strikeouts, no walks. And now his ERA is at a 4.40. So it's going down, but I have to say, I thought Cole was a little more impressive. I thought he was more dominant to start out. I know Verlander had a lot of swing and misses on the slider yesterday, so I thought that was his most effective pitch. But Cole, I mean, literally, you saw it. I mean, he was just throwing straight fastballs at the Mets at times, and they could just not catch up to it. And it's like, wow, you guys look lost out there. Now, I don't know if that's a testament of how good Cole is or how bad the Mets can be at times, but I'm going to give it to Garrett Cole on that one and say he dominated more. But, I mean, I'm happy with Verlander for his start yesterday, not his season, his start yesterday.
Just a reminder, guys, get them likes up, subscribe, do all the good stuff. Going to go through some comments before we hit Luca. Verlander pisses me off. I thought him starting would mean Kate Upton would be at the game, shaking my head. Of course, Frankie is a ladies' man. Cole should have won yesterday. Yeah, if the Yankees had put up some runs, definitely. Julieta, that is actually going to be a talking point at some point. And Matt says, well, the Yankees could have had an infield of Rizzo, Estrada, Peraza, Gio, but decided to go to door number 2 for their players. Luca.
I would say Verlander. I'd probably say Verlander because at times I thought Cole was overusing the fastball at points. Like he would use an entire at bat on the fastball. I know that's him, but sometimes the batters would catch up and to adjust. But Verlander, I think, had a lot, as Pete said, had a lot more to lose because Cole has been, for the most part, he's been himself this year. But the last couple of outings, not so much. I think he gave Yankee fans a little bit of a breath of fresh air, like, okay, this is what Cole really is. But I think the Mets really needed to start from Verlander because Scherzer's not doing anything right now, and their whole starting pitching has been pretty much outside of Kodai Senga, been a disappointment.
Yeah, so moving on to the next prompt. Before we get to the offense, let's talk about bullpen management. I'm going to start on the New York Yankees because the whole, as Pete said, the whole 10th inning management was absolutely god awful yesterday. So I'm going to describe how it went, and this is just so weird with the Yankees. So yesterday, King and Holmes was it? They were not available for Game 2, but today's an off day, and there's also an off day on Monday, so that doesn't make any sense. Not to mention, so this is the Game 1 lineup of bullpen pitchers that they went. So they had Severino for 4 2/3 because he blew up. Then you had Marinaccio, Cordero for a third of an inning, Canely, Peralta for a third of an inning. Holmes finished that up with 2/3 of an inning, and then King. So and then also, actually, I'm going to go to the second game, which was yesterday. Cole, Cordero for 2/3, Marinaccio, who ended up, obviously it went on Cordero's plate as the runs, but Marinaccio ended up giving up the game, the RBI hits and all that sort of stuff. Canely for an inning, Albert Abreu for an inning and a third, and then Nick Ramirez obviously gave up the walk-off. But to my understanding, just first of all, the bullpen management sucks. And obviously we have the off days, so it's kind of a two-sided street where you could say, well, they have the off days, they could use these guys. But also, going back to the King and Holmes thing, that doesn't make any sense. And also, why is Marinaccio being used in the 5th inning? I think it was the 5th inning, and then he was used in the 7th inning. Like, I just don't understand this role-less bullpen that the Yankees are running with. And it just doesn't make any sense. And the question I'm going to ask, and I'll float it around before we get to the Mets bullpen, they didn't really do terrible. Is it personnel or management? And I happen to think it's management because the Yankees have this absolute erection for taking pitchers out with 2 outs. They do, and then that pitcher comes in, the third of an inning, and then they go to a new pitcher the next inning, and then totally waste 3 pitchers within a matter of an inning. So, Pete, your thoughts?
You answered it right there. You said it. I think it all has to do with the way Boone just manages his club. There's no direction. There's never direction on the Yankees, and that to me is their biggest fault. Is they don't have a closer. Now it's kind of closer by committee. They don't commit to people. It's the same thing we talk about when it comes to the young players. They don't commit to guys. They don't give them a spot unless you're Anthony Volpe and you're guaranteed to be in a lineup. But they don't do it for a lot of people, and bullpen management is a very important thing. I always go back to last postseason when whenever Houston was in the lead, you knew you were going to see Abreu, Montero, and then Presley, and you knew what it was. So you knew you better be ahead of those guys because when they come into game, you're done. That's meaningful to have. When the Yankees had Miller, they had Betances, they had David Robertson. They had that type of bullpen of a bunch of guys that could pitch late in the games. You knew that. I remember reporters would say it all the time when they were talking. This team better, be up by the 6th inning because if they're not, they know that too. And the Yankees just sit back and they're like, all right, well, hey, Nick Ramirez is going to pitch the 8th inning today. And teams are like, great. Well, we're going to come back. We're okay. And that's a major problem with the Yankees is again, not something that they have opened up enough of and just laid out what that's going to look like moving forward. And maybe at the deadline they will if they add some more relief pitching help, but they don't have roles. They just come in when something works out. Hey, if this guy can't pitch today and we got an off day tomorrow, we'll lose the game. The hell with it. We'll just lose instead of trying to win a ball game. And that is that to me is a major problem. And it goes against everything they say when they talk about being a World Series caliber operation.
Yeah, and just real quickly to add on before I let John and Luca go, is it's a part of this whole thing that they save these pitchers for what it looks to be October, when right now there is no absolute guarantee that the Yankees are going to even be there because you got two teams ahead of them. I think the Jays are leering in on third place. So it's the same old shit. And, you know, I don't want to, I keep harping on it, even though I don't want to, but it's literally the same shit. John, your thoughts?
Well, did my bullpen make some very noteworthy news? You know, we'll just start with the major thing: the Drew Smith incident in Game 1, getting suspended, and he's officially been suspended for 10 games now. Second time that's happened to a Mets pitcher. I think that's complete nonsense. For one, and I remember like some of the chat Tuesday was saying, "Oh, you got caught cheating," and I'm like, rosin's a legal substance, okay, and all it is rosin and sweat, as they claimed, and also the MLB official claim that they went to said there was nothing wrong with it. So that's number one. And for anyone that says it is cheating, I've literally asked like at least thousands of times, but no one's been able to give me an answer. How much rosin is illegal? I've asked that numerous times, and nobody can tell me. And to me, that's just nonsense that they both got suspended. And it's funny, not everyone in the chat or on Tuesday chat was saying it, but literally, like it's kind of ridiculous that we're suspending guys, because remember, Trevor Bauer said this in that podcast. I forgot where or what the outlet was that he spoke about it. But he called this and saying like they don't know what they're doing pretty much in terms of checking for guys, because this has been an issue now for a few years, maybe. I know it's like relatively new, but it happened like twice last year with pitchers. So nevertheless, I thought that was ridiculous that he got suspended and thrown out. Anyway, in terms of the actual, in-game performance bullpen, you have Game 1. Now, obviously, I could say the bullpen itself did a pretty solid job for the most part, considering Scherzer just didn't give them what they needed to give. He only lasted 3 1/3, but all the bullpen guys. So Leon actually pitched pretty decent, surprisingly, in both games, I thought. The one thing I didn't understand what Buck did, so you have a 3 batter rule, right? So he brings in the lefty Josh Walker. The next 3 batters, only one of them is a lefty. I don't understand that. It makes no sense. And of course, Josh Walker is the only guy who gave up an earned run out of the bullpen, and it actually ended up being the go-ahead run on that Donaldson sac fly. Then you had Brigham pitch 2/3 of an inning. He only had like 8 pitches. Okay, fine, to clean it up. Curtis pitched 2 innings, very solid. He was struggling a lot this year. He brought him back up. He was in AAA. Hopefully, maybe he can turn into something. Then I don't understand bringing in David Robertson for 10 pitches. But it did work out in that top of the 9th inning. So then you have yesterday's game where Verlander, much stronger start. So the bullpen doesn't have to do that much. Brigham was horrible, in my opinion. A guy that you brought back-to-back just wasn't going to work in that situation. Then Brooks Raley, I know he didn't give up a run, but he should be. I mean, I don't want to say he should be charged with a run, but it is his fault about that stolen base, just not paying attention. And I guess you can blame the infield on that too, but I thought that was bad. Ottavino on rest did pretty good. I guess he gave up a hit. Not bad. Robertson did his job. And Leon actually pitched pretty good this series. So usually a guy I get on a lot and who I think should be DFA'd. So I can't be too mad at the bullpen this series. They did their job. Am I singing Kumbaya for this bullpen that's put together? Not at all. I still think it's one of the worst in baseball. So, and I think Billy Epler, that was probably his biggest flaw of the offseason.
Real quickly, just want to go through a couple of comments. As Pete said, and also Frankie said, smacky the likey. I see Frankie's already talking about Salma Hayek. So that's a part of the conversation. Who we have to admit, she's a bad one. Devil Rays Up So, haven't seen you before. Definitely hit the like button, subscribe. I swear I'm not being a hater when I say this, but the Mets have a better lineup than the Yankees when they're fully healthy. I'll debate that just a little bit. The Yankees don't know how to find value in cheap players. An example is Profar. They could have had Profar as their certified leadoff hitter. Yes. But at the time, they were paying Aaron Hicks, and I guess that's the reason they didn't want to go out. I'm not excusing them because that's garbage. Truth always says Boone's mismanagement of the bullpen cost the Yankees like 15 to 20 games, and we are in June. Matt said, I think I saw this last night. 4 of the 5 players have been ejected for illegal substances have been on the New York Mets. Frankie, your question to John will be answered shortly because I do have a managerial segment. Shouts to Zach Brownish. I feel like I missed one of the comments. But anyway, Billy Epler's biggest flaw is being employed. So
No, you're right.
That's a good one too. I'm going to go back to Pete and then Luca on this. Luca for a doubleheader. Pete, what do you think of the Drew Smith incident? Obviously, the Yankees had Domingo Germán. Once it was not an ejection, twice it was an ejection, and he was suspended. Do you think there should be more classification in terms of measurements for rosin? What are your thoughts?
Of course. I mean, and that's the biggest problem right there is that nobody knows. That's your grade A problem right there is they're leaving it up to major league umpires. I know one of the umpires when the Germán situation happened, he was like, yeah, rosin can't get that sticky, which is not correct. That's just wrong. You have no idea what you're talking about. And it's funny because Max Scherzer was on the Foul Territory show before he got ejected, and he got ejected the next game, and he was talking about it, and he was like, well, rosin you can make very sticky. And, you know, you got things like during the summertime, you're going to see this shit go up a lot. Like people are going to get thrown out left and right during the summer because you got things like sunscreen and that makes it additionally sticky. What people don't bring up on a Domingo Germán situation is he dips. So when he's spitting in his hand and then he's using rosin, it's naturally going to be stickier in certain areas. But, you know, what do you do? Where is the line? How do you measure this? I got a very easy solution. MLB just approve a damn substance. Whatever it is, approve. And if it's rosin and you don't see they have anything else on them, you know it's not pine tar, you know rosin could get sticky, then guess what? It is what it is. I'm a little concerned about the sticky ball that they're using. They use in the Nippon League. They're also using it in AA this year because some Yankee pitchers like Will Warren, who got promoted to AAA, he's like, I'm not the same pitcher. Like it's very, very different. A lot of, I think, who else was it? Somebody else recently actually brought it up that it's not the same type of ball that you're using. Actually, I remember, oh my goodness, why can't I think of his name right now? The guy who, Randy Vasquez, actually mentioned it, that it's also a much easier ball to use. And then you adjust to the regular baseball and you're like, holy shit, this is a big difference. And on top of that, too, we're also missing out on that this could hurt pitchers' arms. They need to use something. The fact of the matter is that, they can't use anything. They shouldn't use anything sticky. That's bogus. They should. Am I saying they should use something like Spider Tack? No, but if rosin could be made a little sticky and that is the substance that's approved, then you got to let it go. And that's it. And you could have your checks and all that, but I don't know. I'm not a professional on this stuff. I don't know how you measure that. But every baseball player I've heard talk about it, they all agree with the same thing, is that you can make rosin very, very sticky. And in the summertime, when you sweat, you'll make it a whole lot stickier. So, and you got things then like, like tanning, like lotion and sunscreen, which is going to make it way worse. So we'll see what's going to happen. It's probably going to pick up even more.
Luca, your thoughts on the Drew Smith incident and the Yankees bullpen management?
Yeah, there's no really benchmark for where pitchers can cross the line and can't cross the line for this whole stuff. It started 2 years ago in 2021, the whole sticky stuff and, checking hands and because of the whole spider tack thing. But it's just another downfall on MLB's part, another fault of MLB's with this whole sticky stuff. There's no, like, as I said, no line of where they can or can't cross. It just remains vague. And if I'm the Mets, I'm trying to fight the suspension. Because, again, they didn't do anything wrong. I think it was down the tunnel. Drew Smith was checked by an MLB official, and the MLB official said there's nothing here. So I think the Mets have a good argument. Will they appeal the suspension or try to get overturned? I don't know. But MLB is, going tied to the rules right now. As for the Yankee bullpen management, I think it's one of their weak flaws. It goes the same for like their hitter management. Like there could be like Anthony Rizzo could go 2 for 3 last night, and then him. Or let's just say if the Yankees played today, he would be benched because the Yankees believe in that really weird off day, which I'm not sure why. It's like I feel it's like almost like the same as NBA's load management for like the stars, but again, October's not guaranteed for the Yankees, so I'm not saying you have to waste all your pitches for October, but one of the three in Holmes, King, or Wandy could have been desperately used last night instead of just going to your lower reliable arms, not so reliable arms, should I say.
Yeah. Frankie says, let the guys use it. It's more of a headache trying to regulate it. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. But let's move to the offense, which, to be completely fair and completely transparent, as we like to say on here, it was more of a comedy of errors that scored runs and not actual offense. At least that's the way I saw it. And just some statistics. The Yankees in game 1 were 4 for 6 with runners in scoring position. The Mets were 3 for 15. And last night, the Yankees were 1 for 15 and the Mets were 3 for 11. So that's pretty awful for both teams, aside from the Yankees in game 1. I'm going to start with Luca. Thoughts on the offense for really both sides?
For the Yankees, I mean, obviously they were better in game 1, but when they go into extra innings, it just worries me, especially that they're the road team. It's just the lack of timely hits concerns the hell out of me. There's no reliable one guy. I mean, Stan was 0 for 4 last night. Jake Bauers was 1 for 5 and didn't hit real well in the runners scoring position situations. The Yankees just don't have that clutch guy. DJ LeMahieu has been a complete shell of himself for the past 2 years plus. So the one issue, as I said, when it comes to the Yankees hitting is timely hitting and doing too much at the plate. For the Mets, I'd probably say the same thing at points, but at least they got it done with Nimmo and they took advantage of Jimmy Cordero back in the 7th inning. So I can't really say much on the Mets part. I'm sure that John will cover it well, but for the Yankees, it's lack of timely hitting once again and not trying to do too much at the plate.
Real quickly, I just want to add something in. What other Major League Baseball team would have a 130 hitter in the 3-hole? I'm just going to say that, and I'll
Not a serious one.
Not a serious baseball team. That's correct. Angry John.
Funny, you took one of the points right out of my mouth. Mets are just a very bad team when it comes to hitting with runners in scoring position. I was infuriated in that 8th inning with Lindor and Marte, as obviously everyone could see from my demonstrations. And, in terms of the offense, there's times where they'll show up. This group, they can show up, but there's also times where it's like they'll go quiet and it's like and you just try and figure out what's the issue. I mean, I thought Nimmo had a very good series offensively. But again, I very much question the way the lineup is constructed sometimes. And the consistency. For example, I hate that Mark Vientos he played last night, great, but I hate that he does not get at bats and he literally will ride the bench after they called him up. And to me, I don't understand, some people are saying, oh, he's not hitting like Alvarez is or how Beatty was to start. I'm like, well, you can't really get in rhythm or timing if you play a game and then you get benched every other 2 days, then you have an off day, then you only play the next. It's so weird for a young hitter to even like adjust to that because, he's in AAA. He's like their 3 hitter and he was raking down there. So that kind of annoys me. And again, the way the lineup is constructed, I do like moving Marte back up just because, now they have to figure out how to do it without Alonso because he's not there for a little bit with the injury. But Marte's been hitting a little bit better. I think the neck injury in April really hindered him. And I think that also, if you can get him going a little more, maybe some more extra base hits out of him, I think you'll start to see the player that he really is. McNeil is fine. It really does come down to Lindor just not being able to hit consistently. I believe he only had the double, so he went like 1 for 8 in the series, which or 1 for 7. Which again, but you see how he is in some of his other at bats, and he just looks lost up there. And you know, some of the other guys, like, you know, it's just inconsistency. Pham was like awful game 1, but then he had a good game last night. You got Canna, who did pretty good game 1, but then he gets benched. So again, up and down offense. They're not the most. They're not the major problem, but they could be better at times.
Shouts to Crackle Nuts in the chat. And let's get to 15 likes already, folks. Let's get to 15.
Smacky the likey.
Smacky the likey.
Mhm.
Smacky the likey. Pete, your thoughts on the lack of hitting with runners in scoring position? Well, the first game was good, second game was not, but also and also your thoughts on possibly, because I've seen this a lot on Twitter, and I don't know how you value it, moving DJ back up to the leadoff spot.
I'll start with just the offense in general. This has been a complaint from the Yankees for a long time. They can't score without hitting a home run. They're sitting back right now. Like, you look at yesterday's game for an example. How many times did they have the opportunity to bunt the guy over and to score? Jose Trevino shouldn't be caught seen with a baseball bat in his hand. He should go up there with no bat, look at pitches, and if he walks, he walks. If he strikes out, just go sit down. He shouldn't even be allowed to swing at this point at all. Anthony Volpe, who's been struggling, had a chance to lay a bunt down. They don't call for it. I forgot. I think Bowers had a chance to lay a bunt down. They don't call for it. Even the Mets, by the way, too. What was it? I think the bottom of the ninth. They had a leadoff double, I think it was, and they didn't even bunt. And I'm sitting there going, Vientos is going to bunt. I mean, he has to bunt. How do you not? And they don't even look like baseball has gone so away from let's win the game to, let's get the hit. Let's hit a home run. Let's get a double in the gap. How about you just win a baseball game? And the Yankees cannot hit with men on base because nobody goes up there just looking to drive the ball to right field, roll over on it, get the runner over to third base, hit a sac fly, lay a bunt down late in games, try to get that run in. The Yankees are sitting back with a bunch of guys that can't slug 400 looking to hit a home run. And it's not going to happen. But they just wait and wait and wait and wait, and it's not going to show up. And they've known this for years now. And they refuse to say, maybe we need to change this offense up. You know, maybe Josh Donaldson is no longer that MVP. By the way, his name is no longer Josh Donaldson. It's Shitty Skunk Mullet. That's his new name, Shitty Skunk Mullet. That's Josh Donaldson's new name. They just don't learn their lessons, unfortunately. And, you know, speaking of LeMahieu, yeah, why not? I mean, he went 2 for 4 one day there, and the Yankees were like, yeah, that worked too well. Let's move you back down to 6th. That worked out way too well. So, yeah, why not try to let him get the leadoff spot up top and go from there? But this team hasn't learned over years and years and years of really any fan saying the same thing, that they just don't hit with runners in scoring position, and they've never made the necessary moves to make it happen.
Yeah, so just to shout out a couple of comments. Frankie says, can we skip to October where we get swept in the wild card series?
If we get there.
If we get there. If we get there. That's an if. Always an if. Yankees haven't hit with runners in scoring positions since 2009. Yeah, that's pretty much been that. But Pete referenced learning the lesson, so I have to go with a very much quick cutaway, which kind of represents both of our teams, courtesy of Angry John.
It's such a joke. It's such a joke. This team is so bad. Why don't they learn their lesson? Why do I have to learn the lesson for them? I have not done anything to anyone. I'm a nice human being.
All literate points. Did I miss anybody with the runners in scoring position discussion? No? Okay. Because I just want to make sure I hit all of my bases. But it's kind of keeping on the offense. I'll start with Pete. Some of the actually, I kind of want to touch on this just a tad bit. Austin Wells apparently changed Volpe's swing, right? Game 1, it was a little bit more, evident. In Game 2, he didn't do much of anything. I remember it was like one of the late innings, and he struck out on a pitch just like outside. And that's, I mean, you could change swing, but you really can't change plate discipline in some areas. Yeah. How more patient can we be with, or should we be with Anthony Volpe?
I stick to my point. I like to see him make an adjustment. It's nice because it's what everybody's seeing. And by the way, too, if you want to be fair, since he made the adjustment, he did get a gift double that I think should still be taken away. That wasn't a double, but they'll give it to him because I don't think Nimmo ever touched the ball. So it's hard to give an error when you never actually touch the ball. That's just going to fall into to be an actual hit for him. So he got a gift there, but he also hit a rocket double to right field of all places that he wouldn't have been able to do just a couple of days ago. So I do want to give him time because he has, if you want to say it's 3 hits, okay. But if you even want to say it's 2 hits, it's better than he was doing before. So since the adjustment, he got a hit in every game. There's only 2 games he's played. Let's see what it looks like, come the All-Star break. If All-Star break comes and Anthony Volpe's hitting 188, the Yankees got the same problem they had before. But I do think it is nice that he actually, and it's sad that you got to even say that in this day and age, that I can't believe he made an adjustment. You would think you got hitting coaches, and if your Yes Network people are sitting there breaking it down, somebody's going to walk past the TV and go, "Hey, Anthony, you might want to put that foot a little closer, the front foot closer to the home plate." Yeah, Pete Simonetti been saying it for 3 months, and he's never played Major League Baseball. Neither has your hitting coach. So somebody should fucking know what to do here. But this is what we're doing with the New York Yankees. The kids sat down with friends and families, eating chicken parmesan. They're remembering, they're reminiscent. Remember that home run? Yeah, Anthony, I remember your foot was a little closer to home plate. That's what it is. All right, I'll do it tomorrow. Dylan Lawson has no idea what's going on. 0.
Yeah. Brad, what is up? Frankie says Yankees hitting coaches are as useless as allies trades. Crackleman says Trevino is a backup catcher. I said in the offseason we should go out there and trade for Sean Murphy. He said having a hell of a year, but I know that was also the talk of this show. Cracklenuts enforcing his rivalry with John. When Jeff Nelson and John Small see the issues with his swing and know how to fix it, it should tell you just how bad Dylan Lawson is and how he should be fired. Yeah, that's pretty much that. Luca, your thoughts on the whole Volpe escapade?
I think we should be give him till about mid-July or later July. But it's sad that Austin Wells, who's obviously never been a hitting coach in his life, fixed Volpe's swing. It just I don't know. It just rubs me the wrong way. It just talks about how the Yankees don't preach accountability. I mean, what does this guy Dylan Lawson do anyway? Has he actually, obviously his little motto in the minor leagues was hit strikes hard. Well, the Yankees haven't really changed much. Yankees really haven't changed much doing that. It's like it's been the same for the past 2 years. The Yankees swings and how they approach the at-bats and their adjustments. Like, the Yankees don't have a real hitting coach. They don't actually work on mechanics. They look at the iPads and they go very mathematical into their swings and, what's an uppercut swing? How much, what's your launch angle supposed to be, instead of actually hitting the ball hard and trying to get a base hit. So the Yankees, with Dylan Lawson, it's like the Yankees are trying to outsmart the other teams, but it doesn't work. It's just keep it simple. It's mechanics, not mathematics.
What is good, Sox, Arizona? It's also like a thing the last few years, especially with Marcus Thames. It's like they have real success in the minors with these types of guys. Like, you always see the Rail Riders being a good offense and stuff like that, them developing guys. When Thames was there, when Lawson was there before, obviously he got called up, what was it, 2 years ago? And now, obviously, the Yankees go to crap. So, obviously, there's no such thing. I'm not going to sit here and defend Dylan Lawson, but he's a patsy, just like Aaron Boone is. It's all an organizational thing, unfortunately. I've never seen a team relying on one guy. Judges lose the whole offense. Without them, they're a dead team. Yeah, that's pretty much that. That is pretty much that. And Frankie also adds in Tyler Hero was more useful in the finals than Dylan Lawson has been all season. And then also Truth always says Michael K should pay you for taking your strike outline.
Oh yeah, I did notice he struck him out, but I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, just like Brandon Cootie the other day. He gets no credit.
Yeah, Brandon Cunty, you mean?
Yeah. We need hitters. Rizzo has been drilling shits since Judgment Day. Yeah, he's been on a. Oh, thank you for reminding me, Crackle Nuts. Some Yankee hitters since June 5th. Anthony Rizzo, 038. Giancarlo Stanton, 091. Josh Donaldson, 091. DJ LeMahieu, 217. And Gleyber Torres, 200. So I just want to give you guys an overview of what we're dealing with here.
There's no next man up on this Yankee team. It's all excuses at the end of the day.
It's got to build in the excuses, but
I even cringed at those numbers.
Can I actually bring something up about Francisco Lindor real quick?
Sure.
So compared to last year, he's hitting 100 points lower on the slider, 100 points lower on curveballs, still hitting fastballs decently, but that's a pretty big drop. In hitting off-speed pitches.
It's funny that you mention it because, you would think he would kind of try and adjust and change it, but it's like it just keeps on getting worse and worse and worse. And it's like, when I hear him speak to the media, I appreciate that he says, it is my fault and whatnot. But what really annoys me when he'll say something like, "Oh, I'm like when Mets fans are booing him, and he'll say, I'm right there with you." I'm like, "No, you're not. You're the guy that we are booing. Okay, do not try and play like sides here. Like we are angry at you because you're supposed to be a superstar in this league, but you're not playing like one."
Yeah. And the other thing too about him, and this is why I think it means a lot when you look at things like StatCast, right? You got these analytical nerds out there. And don't get me wrong, I love StatCast and I love all the numbers. I'm a believer in all these numbers. I do think there's a human element that must be at play, and you can't base all your decisions. Because if I was to look at Francisco Lindor StatCast, I'd be like, probably having a really good year, isn't he? And then you break the numbers down. You're like, actually, he sucks ass. It's kind of crazy because, I always call when you're part of the blue man group on StatCast, you're bad. But it depends on the individual player. He's kind of either middle or red across the board. And it's like, well, when he's putting the ball in play, he must be doing well. But there's a lot wrong.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot wrong there for Francisco Lindor. Let me tell you guys, man. I mean, Mets fans, if you want to be mad at anybody, I'm not a fan of Pete Alonso just because he's a fucking weirdo. And I hate that he's compared to Aaron Judge because, Angry John, I know you're smarter than this. He's not on Aaron Judge's level.
No, I know that. I love Pete. I think he's a great first baseman, but he's not Aaron Judge.
I think he's a solid ball player. If I was building a club and Alonso was a first baseman I had to use, I'd be happy to have Pete Alonso on my club. Mm-hmm. And to me, it's upsetting that, Francisco Lindor is playing the way he's playing in a market like New York that would love him. He'd be one of the biggest stars here if he was performing the way he did in Cleveland. But he's letting that organization down. And I hope the fans continue to boo him because that is their right. They're buying tickets to see this team play, and he's a part of it. He's a major part of it. And as bad as, Buck Showalter eventually probably will take, the brunt of all of this, Francisco Lindor got to be somebody that the Mets are holding to the fire and being like, man, you're not the guy, we brought here. Now we're stuck with you. You better get it together.
Mm-hmm. Which is one thing I bring up from that is what really frustrates me with Buck. It's not about what he might say or try and do to get his guys fired up. But when I see Lindor just continue to play the way he is, but Buck puts out the lineup of, him hitting third and fourth every day. And I'm like, where's the accountability? And I understand that, you're not going to want to do that to your quote unquote star, but at some point there's got to be a breaking point. Like, why does Lindor get to continue hitting in these spots? If you put a top three of like Nimmo, Marte, McNeil, and then when Alonso's healthy, you put him in that cleanup role. I'll take that because
I'll take that over anything the Yankees could put out. To be quite honest with you, that's a hell of a top four.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's a terrific top four. And then you can, if you don't want to do that, you can throw a kid in there or two. You can move them around, see what they're doing. You want to throw Alvarez up there, you want to throw Beatty, fine. But I don't understand why Lindor continues to hit third and fourth. I mean, when he does get it, like you said, when he does get a piece of the ball, he can drive it, but he just doesn't do it consistently enough, and it's like very frustrating. And it's like, it doesn't give me much to defend with him, and I don't want to bash him, like I don't, but I have to, and I call it like I see it.
Yeah, definitely. Shouts to Jeff Nelson in the chat. Says, "What's up, fellas?" He's a Cardinals fan, by the way, so he is
That's right.
suffering
He
the
is.
big suffer. Could be worse. You could be a Cardinals fan. They are hard to watch. I don't anymore. Brutal. Cards fans will show good or bad. I've had enough.
Actually, real funny because when I got to the house yesterday, the first thing me and Luca did, we turned on baseball. We see the Giants and Cardinals, and we're like, why are the Cardinals so bad this year? Like, they have a good team, and they're down to their final strike. And then obviously the Giants tie it up with the homer, and then they win in extra innings. And I'm like, wow, that explains a lot.
You know, the cool thing is, if I were a Cardinals fan, that's an organization I would love to actually have my hands on, the control of kind of what they're doing, because you can, they're not the Yankees, you know, they're not the Dodgers. Hell, I'll even say they're not the Mets in that regard of, you know, the fans looking at them and be like, oh, if they make major changes, maybe fans will be upset, but I think they still back them very, very strongly. They got a lot of good young guys there, but they also have some veterans that have some pretty large salaries there. With the way they're playing right now, that team could really be like, hey, we're going to control the deadline. And then we're going to turn this team over to Yadier Molina next year. I mean, that to me is like, as a Cardinals fan, I'm like, you know, I could kind of get behind this because Yadi's going to be a manager one day.
Mhm.
Apparently, the whole clubhouse is in turmoil. They have no control over there. You get a guy well respected like Molina, and you say, hey, you're going to be the manager of this club, but here's the deal. Probably not going to have Arenado. We might even look to move Goldie. You know, guys like Nolan Gorman are going to have to take over. You know, you're the young catchers you got coming up besides Wilson Contreras. They're going to have to start taking over. And, you know, it's one of those organizations where you could probably get away with doing something like that. And if they were to look to make trades like that, look, the Yankees could use an outfielder. Lars Nootbaar is there. Lars Nootbaar is having a very, very good year. I think a lot of teams would be. I wanted him in the offseason. I thought he was another good trade target, possibly. And they got, not even just for the Yankees, for a lot of clubs out there. Hell, the Yankees could use Nolan Arenado. I don't know how they would make that work, but many teams could. And you're right. They're a miserable ball club right now. I mean, they're terrible. They're really, really bad. And that's just, I just wanted to give that take, because I know Jeff Nelson in here is a Cardinals fan. I just think they have the opportunity to kind of sell that to the fan base, and it could maybe work.
Yeah. So shouts to Joan. Also shouts to Brad. I know you obviously told me some of that stuff in private a few weeks back, but hope you ring the bell very soon, my man. Devil Rays Up says, I hate exit velocity. Look at Luis Arias. It's one of the lowest exit velocities in the league. Sitting 400 with a 900 OPS. Stan can hit the ball 500 mile an hour. 500 mile an hour, all he wants it, and it does not mean shit. I mean, all facts.
What did I call Luis Arias? Like the modern day Ted Williams.
It doesn't mean shit either, because guess what? It doesn't count. It doesn't count strikeouts. So, you know, it only counts when you hit the ball. Well, guess what? If you're not hitting the ball much, who gives a shit what your exit velocity is? Luis Arias, and I think it was me and Bad Dog were calling. I think I said it off one of the hits. I forgot what it was. It was a little blue. Oh, Luis Gonzalez in 01. You think he'd care what the exit velocity was of a game-winning single? That was probably 68 miles an hour off the bat. Who cares? I mean, I understand when you're trying to break down guys and figure out what's wrong with them, why you look at these things, but a guy like Luis Arias is a guy that puts the ball in play all the damn time. So his average exit velocity is probably going to be lower. He's not stinging the ball every second, but he doesn't strike out.
Yeah, Miami hit a splash with that trade. What up, Jeffrey? Devil Rays Up says, Yandy Diaz over Pete Alonso.
Ooh.
You might be having a better season. He's having a better season. I'll give him that. But in terms of overall, I still take Pete, just because I think he's a way better. I think, number one, I think he's a better defender than most people realize. And I don't think I can sit there and say Pete can go give me 50 homers. I don't think Diaz can do that in a season. I think Diaz is a phenomenal ball player. Like, I'd love him on my team if I needed a first baseman. But
here's what I would say this. I would say this about that. I would have to look at my team before I decide on who that first baseman would be in that regard. Because the one thing you don't get in baseball is guys that could easily hit 50 home runs or guarantee you 40. If Alonso's on the field, he's going to hit you 40 plus homers.
Yeah.
Minimum.
Like,
you know
don't
that.
get me, I'm not saying Diaz is a bad player. Like, he's a good hitter for average, gets on base a lot. Like, good player. Like, he's going to be an all-star this year.
Yep.
Molina was basically the manager for the last 10 years, so it didn't make any sense as why they didn't just name the manager. Yeah, I feel like it just went down when they fired Mike Schilt. But again, what do I know? Cards will be lucky to get out of the last place slot. They're not a good team overall, and it starts with Ali. He has lost the team. Yep.
Yeah,
totally
facts.
agree.
And that's why I said I feel like it's something you could sell to your fan base that would actually work.
Let's see. Juan Soto would tell you not to worry about launch angle and look how great of a hitter he is. Yeah, I mean,
Aaron Judge too.
Yep.
Said batting average is king. So
Spank is MVP. Okay, all right. Spank is MVP. But moving forward into our last few segments, let's start with this one. And this is a kind of a poll opinion question. The last one's a little easier, so I'm gonna leave that for last. Who would you rather have as manager after this series? Aaron Boone or Buck Showalter? Now, and there's
I'd go with Spank.
Spank. I think Spank. I think Spank might take the cake on the manager.
I think it's this question is appropriate for the perfect sign because these two managers need to be reminded of the lesson.
No, we.
No meetings allowed. That is the famous sign I put on here now because both managers are horrible in their own way.
You got to pick one. Is it Showalter or is it Boone that you take after the series?
God.
Or is not a choice.
Do I get to pass?
There is no pass.
See, I don't want Boone because I know he's horrible. I don't want Buck because he's proud of losing.
That's so tough, man. And Buck's last comments that he made recently really lost me.
Oh.
Well, just so you know, Aaron Boone is proud of Anthony Rizzo's batting practice.
Jesus. Is there a no manager option? Is that an option to have nobody? Can I put like a can of Chef Boyardee as the manager? God, for me, because I'm thinking to myself, I'm like trying to figure out, how it would go with this. And I'm saying, well, the Yankees are definitely a win now type team. Do I want the veteran managers kind of been there? Would he handle the clubhouse different? I don't know, man. This is really a tough question. Before the season, I would have said Buck, but he's lost me this year quite a bit. A lot of his comments really, it's kind of like he's
given me the Luis Rojas, Mickey Callaway kind of answers, which I hated over the years. And I'm like, when he said that after the Brave series, that he was proud of their effort after they get swept because,
horrible.
You smack around Spencer Strider. That's great, but you're still supposed to win the game.
Yep. Because, at the end of the day, the end result is what matters. I don't know how to, I really don't. I'll be honest. I hate giving a no answer. I don't know how, you know what I'll do? I'll do this then. I'll just stick with how it is now. So I guess I'll stick with how it is. I don't feel like it's a win-win either way anymore.
No weenies allowed. Luca, I'm sorry, Luker.
Renames back to Luker, but I guess with how it is now, because I can't really decide either. Like Buck is, the veteran manager. I would have said him before this year, but he tends to overplay the veterans. As something just drops right beside me. It was out of the blue anyway, but regardless, what I was saying was,
it sounded like the wall collapsed.
I thought the whole house was collapsing.
Random moment, but anyways, regardless. Buck Showalter tends to overplay his veterans. With his comments, obviously, about the Brave series and feeling proud just lost me because I thought he would have a manager. I thought he'd be a manager with definitely a higher standard, but he's on Boone's level with those comments. So I'd rather say neither and just keep it how it is.
Yep.
I thought he wouldn't be accepting of this garbage.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
He has become accepting of this garbage.
There you go. Has been accepting of this garbage. Okay, so we got a bunch of okays. Okay, so there's Luker's Wall. There's Bill Cosby. I don't know that I want Bill Cosby as my manager. John, you haven't given an official answer.
Do I get to? I'm on the Pete bandwagon. I'm gonna bandwagon here and say I'd rather have no manager and just have like utter chaos. And we can have it like historical times where you would just fight to the death of whoever wants to become manager can do so.
Man, that would be a good matchup. Boone versus Showalter, fight to the death.
I think. Well, I mean, Boone would probably win because Buck's got he's much older.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Boone got a bad heart.
That's what
I don't know how long he's gonna be able to go out there. You got that little pacemaker in there. He's working himself. I don't know who's gonna win. Buck looks like one of those guys that if he gets like 2 drinks in him, it gets hot. He might kick your fucking ass.
I give it to Buck. I see him give the stares out, and he doesn't look happy sometimes.
No, he's probably a little dirty too. I'll probably take off a cleat and like rub it along his eyes or something like that. I hit him in the head with it. I could definitely see Buck doing a move like that.
I don't know who Yankee fans would be praying for in that fight, but
Buck.
Okay.
I gotta support the elderly in that regard.
I mean, you kind of have to.
I'm supporting the elderly in that regard, and I'm definitely pulling for Buck Showalter in that one. This is going to be clipped 20 years from now, saying that I wanted these two to fight to the death and kill each other.
It's gonna be like, Pete advocated for this. It was all him.
Yep, that's exactly what's going to happen when Mortal Kombat becomes official in Major League Managers and they fight to the death on the field in some Armageddon world in the future.
All right, so the next one is which team, and this one's a little bit more obvious because it's kind of the way they're playing now. Which team does better without their star player moving forward? The Mets or the Yankees? Alonso's hurt, and Aaron Judge is hurt.
God, these are tough questions, man, with these two teams. Look, I got to say this. I got to go to the Yankees. The only reason why is they're at least 9 games over. And they've been without Judge 2 times this year, and they're still 9 games over. So it's not like they win every game with Judge. They're definitely a better team, no doubt about it. But I'll say the Yankees. The Mets just can't seem to get their shit together.
John?
Alex, I have it's funny. I actually have a stat for this one. The Yankees have a total of 3 wins in their last 3 series. The Mets have 3 wins this month. That is all you need to know. That is all you need to know for who I'm picking. I'm picking the Yankees. You would think I'm crazy for saying they have 3 wins this month, but they legit have 3 wins this month. Oakland has a better record than us right now in the month of June.
Oakland's not the worst team in baseball, by the way.
I know.
Is it the Royals?
The Royals, yeah. The Royals are terrible. Like really, really bad.
Oakland won again.
Yeah. Save Salvador Perez, man. Let that poor guy go somewhere to play decent baseball.
You trade him to a contender at the deadline or something. If the
Should.
contract isn't too bad. But I don't think they, in history, at least their history, I don't think they've signed anyone to $100 million contract. So that's at least beneficial in terms of, trades and stuff like that. Luker.
I would probably say the Yankees because the Mets are in a really bad slump right now despite taking the split.
Yankees should trade for Bellinger. Imagine a lineup of Bader, Cody, Judge, Rizzo, Stanton, DJ, Volpe, Peraza, catcher 9th. Honestly, I'm going to be that guy. I don't want Bellinger.
Really?
That guy.
You don't like him?
I'm sorry. And there's also the proposal of Stroman.
Well,
I don't want Stroman.
Well, I mean, I agree on that. I was thinking
Stroman.
Yeah, I was thinking, if you want to send an outfielder, Jock Peterson would be the guy to go after. But
I mean, I'll take Jock. I'm not taking Cody. I feel like he's been way too up and down. Way too up and down.
That's fair.
I mean, we'll talk, Jeffrey. We'll talk about the series on Monday. I'm not doing any previews for it, at least not to my knowledge. I wish the Yankees had Don Mattingly as their manager. He'd be the manager and the hitting coach at the same time. Yeah, I mean, Mattingly probably manages the team a little bit better. A little bit better. I love being that guy. Yeah, I am that guy. What was the McNeil thing last night?
He got a shift violation.
Yeah, his foot was on the right side.
All right. I just want to say one thing, and this is in terms of kind of a combination. I know it's a little different, but it falls in the same category with some of the newer rules. I think number 1, the McNeil shift violation was a joke. I'm sorry, that's not a shift if he's covering the runner. I don't know what else he's supposed to do in that situation. But can we all agree that in terms of extra inning baseballs, the leadoff runner, the ghost runner, is the worst rule in baseball?
Yeah.
How bad is it? It's
terrible.
Like, why are we just giving, free runs in extra innings? Why? Like, I like 18-inning baseball games. I know, the the new fans won't like it, but I like that stuff. I know Luca, Alex, and Pete like it too. Like, I'm rooting for that. I want to see those games. Remember the game between the Mariners and Astros last year? 18 innings? Like, that's exciting. Like, why are we just making it so quick and giving free runs away? It's not baseball, in my opinion.
And the other problem too with that is that you would think that with the ghost runner rule, teams would simply be like, let's just try to get the run home. We got a runner on second base, and nobody can still get the run home. It's like ridiculous. I mean, I know we don't have as many 12, 13, 14 in the games, but I think the Yankees, somebody put a stat in Game Season Live yesterday. I think they've only gotten that run in 5 out of 10 times this year, which is ridiculous. A leadoff runner on at second base. All you got to do is bunt, fly out, move them over, ground ball to second base, and then another ground ball, fly out, error, whatever the hell it is. And teams just can't seem to friggin' do it because nobody knows how to bunt anymore. It's like a lost art in baseball.
Small ball is just gone. Yeah. Unfortunately, it seems like. But I guess we'll start wrapping it up here. I'll start with Luker, then I'll go to John, and I'll go to Pete.
I'd like to thank the boss for coming on, Mr. Pete. Hopefully the Yankees take 2 out of 3 at most in this upcoming Red Sox series, or at least should be a sweep. I just hope the Yankees can play serious here against the Red Sox, even though they lost the last series to the Red Sox.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Pete, for coming on, and thank the whole chat today for joining. Some good questions and comments in there. Always appreciate whenever you guys watch. Hopefully, dear God, the Mets wake up and beat a team this weekend that they should against the Cardinals, just because they should win, but it's always the Mets, so they always give you reasons for them to not believe in you. But again, thank you guys for watching us out today.
I just want to add 2 things before we get to Pete, a.k.a. Mustache Poppy. So, number 1, I clipped this, or at least bookmarked it. Rays closer Pete Fairbanks gave himself a black eye after dunking on his 3-year-old son in the pool. Just wanted to put that out there. And number 2, this shows you how much of a serious, where the priorities are for certain Yankee players. Gleyber Torres had a plush kitten in the dugout versus the Mets in both games.
What do you mean? Like those toys that you win at like the arcade thing with the claw? Is that?
I guess so. He just had a stuffed kitten in the dugout, tied to like a fence. Pete looks like he has something to say.
I don't want to get you guys demonetized or kicked off of YouTube. If I say what I really want to say about that scumbag, low-life, fucking asshole idiot, Gleyber Torres. I wish I was in that clubhouse. I wish I was in that clubhouse because when he made that error, I'd see that plush dog just bash it over his head about 17 times when he comes in the clubhouse. That's what I do. I mean, it sums up the Yankees. They're a plush team. There you go. That's it. The New York Yankees. They're the plush New York Yankees. That's what they are with Aaron Boone managing them.
The plush Yankees and the feeble Mets.
The plush Yankees and the feeble Mets. That's New York baseball right now, folks. They have little the fucking plushed animals sitting in the dugout with them as they go to play a Major League Baseball game. The guy's making errors, not knowing what he's doing. He's worried about Giggles the cat in the dugout while the play is being made, and he has no idea what the hell's happening. But that's regular Gleyber Torres for you. Doesn't shock me. Probably going to be on his Instagram tomorrow.
Shouts to Adam in the chat as well. But I mean, I looked at that and I'm like, no, this can't be real. But it is. Once again, we appreciate y'all in the chat. We appreciate the boss coming on for another talk. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the good stuff if you haven't already, which most of you have. But if you haven't, though, sub up to NYY News TV. Get your tickets, by the way, for the September 23rd event in which all 4 of us will be attending. Of course, Pete's going to be hosting it because he's
I think I'll
boss.
be there. I think I'll be there.
I think he'll be there. You got some things to worry. I think he'll be there.
And by the way, too, we have another announcement coming up very, very soon regarding the night of the 23rd. But we'll get to that pretty soon.
Okay. All right. Pete's got an announcement at some point. Okay. But we appreciate you guys we're going to get out of here. Peace out. See you later. Stay cool. Plus Yankees and feeble Mets.